This is Mike Lednovich for Observer TV News at the City Marina. I interviewed Fernandina Beach Fire Chief Jeremy Holmes Sunday morning about the collapse of the Marina Gangway during the annual 4th of July fireworks show and the department's response and rescue of those in the water. Holmes, who has been the city's fire chief for 2 months, began by describing spectators' emotional response to the collapse.
So emotionally, I think it was more just fear of what could have been. There were a lot of people there that were running from it, so they thought it was a shooter. Someone was yelling that they thought that someone had a gun, and there were shots. And so there were a lot of people that were running from the scene.
Uh-huh.
And so, I did witness that part of it. I was there with my family. I was on the other side of Brett's. Yes, sir. So, and we hadn't been there long. We'd been there maybe about 10 minutes or so. Found a little spot that we could sit. And in the middle of the fireworks, I see a lot of people start running the direction that I was at. And so I just turned to my family, told I needed to go check on that. I asked people why they were running, and I had several people tell me they didn't know. They just saw other people running.
Uh-huh.
But then when I got closer in, people were saying that someone had a gun, that there were shots. And I reached one of our MERV units, which had a couple of firefighters there working the event, and they didn't know what was going on either. Nothing had been dispatched as of that point, because it all had happened very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And they told me that someone told them that someone had a gun as well, which turned out not to be true, because
right.
we went further in to, once we got there on the other side of Brett's, we were able to realize what had happened, and
right.
the gangway had collapsed.
Right.
I think it was just a lot of unknown.
Uh-huh.
And so whenever that happens, you don't know exactly how to respond or with what. So we just continue to bring in all the units that we had, and we also called in some Nassau County. They're just, because you don't know what at that point what was going on, but then once we realized that it was the gangway, and then was trying to figure out, did we have anybody trapped,
mm-hmm.
how many patients we had, all of those things.
Right.
And PD was already on it.
Okay.
It was not too problematic. Our guys got on location very quickly.
Uh-huh.
I think that has to do with the roads being blocked already,
Uh-huh.
and so people were able to move out of the way when the fire trucks were coming. But it was the once we saw that the gangway had collapsed,
Uh-huh.
and then we were able to just relay that message. Hey, this is not an active shooter situation. This is the gangway had collapsed, and that shifted our whole focus of what our response was going to look like.
Hesitant to have people go in?
I was not, because I saw that PD were already up that way.
Uh-huh.
I knew there was a heavy police presence
Uh-huh.
on the 4th of July already,
Uh-huh.
and that they would be able to handle the situation.
Okay.
Our entire crew did respond.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone made it to the scene of where the gangway collapsed, because some units were diverted over to set up a medical tent
Right.
there at City Hall.
Okay. So, is that where you took people over to City Hall?
That's right. That's where we told them. That's where we set up, because it would have been away from that location, and it would have it cleared some space for us. And not only did we have people responding, but we also had there were also personnel that work the event, that's hired through the event, that's on that location as
Uh-huh.
well.
Uh-huh.
And then there were several off-duty firefighters that were very quickly doing the same thing I was doing, just checking on it, seeing what we could do to help, and trying to gather as much information as we could.
And looking at the gangway, how it had collapsed, you had people standing in what, knee-high water?
Maybe, yes, sir.
Okay, and so my question is, you really didn't have to use a crane or any kind of lift to get them off the gangway. They were really able to walk out of either side.
They were, yes, sir, and that's exactly what they did.
Okay, so your personnel simply went down either side of that gangway and then assisted them out.
And everyone was off the gangway by the time we were there. And like I was there very, very quickly because being there, and everyone was off of the gangway when I got there.
Okay. Any estimate how many people were actually, on that collapsed part?
No, sir. I've heard several different numbers. I'm not sure. I know we had, I think it was 11 that came to our medical site.
Right.
I have no idea.
Okay, but so you're figuring probably a dozen or so.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But we had to order people to evacuate that area. Yes, sir. And then there was, I had to just I had to repeat myself multiple times of people because they would want to get up on top of where the gangway collapsed at Brett's restaurant there, and we just wanted to, just take pictures and videos and all of that. And I tried to keep them moving because that was our only way to get the people off of what the area that you're talking about.
Right.
It probably took to the end of the fireworks show, to be honest with you, because people didn't want to. It was hard to speak over.
Yeah, right.
Over that, and then and it just took a long time because it's limited amount of people that can get. So I think I'm very proud of our personnel and the response. They were on scene very quickly. So very proud of them, what they do, and how they acted in a situation where it's the unknown. Anytime you're responding to an unknown, you don't know what equipment to bring. You don't know, your mindset doesn't know what type of care is going to have to be given, what type of evacuation is going to have. So I was very proud of the response and what they in those things. Lessons learned. We're going to that shift doesn't work again until Monday. So we're going to sit down at the table. We're going to go through these calls and these types of situations, and just like what you're asking me, I'm going to ask him for their feedback as well, and so we can go ahead and gather the information of what did we do well, and then what are the lessons learned in this situation that we can do better.
This is Mike Lednovich. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube news channel.